Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's King Geo in the house. Um, welcome to my channel. I want to say, wow, it's been a hectic week, right? You see, I haven't shaved. Nah. But I want to explain something to some people, and how this process works, with the elections. It's kind of funny how people have the idea that this election is being rigged, right? You have Republicans saying, well, not all Republicans, but you have the majority one, that's Donald Trump, saying that this election is being rigged, right? But if you look at it, um, you don't see Donald Trump calling out Arizona. You don't see him say, "Hey, let's talk about Nevada." Well, he did yesterday. So I do take that back. So he don't say, let's talk about Arizona, because his numbers there are crunching. Not Biden's numbers are crunching, and his numbers are going up. Uh, his numbers went down. Now Biden took over in Georgia, and it looks that the trajectory is going by the same thing in Pennsylvania. Now, everybody seems not to understand the concept of all this. Back in the beginning, Donald Trump said that mail-in ballots were going to be fraud. So he was talking about it. So he was already putting the idea into your head. And if you're not reminded, you get caught up in it. But he was putting this in your head that mail-in ballots were fraud, that they're not going to do anything. And then you have a pandemic. And then you have people who are old or young, or they choose not to be around people who have or who could potentially have the virus. So now they have the option to mail in. Now, mail-in ballots are kind of hard, because mail-in ballots are either from the state, in the military, whatever the case may be, or like you're in public office and you're somewhere else and that's where you reside. But you have to have the mail-in ballots. You have to have a course to do a mail-in ballot. If you don't have a good course for that, then you can't do mail-in ballots, and then you have to go in person, right? So the cause for the mail-in ballots was the coronavirus. A lot of people didn't want to go inside a poll, or didn't want to go into a museum, or whatever the case may be, and they want to be surrounded with people who could potentially have COVID, which is understandable. Had the president taken care of this or handled this differently, maybe he would have been up in the polls. Not in the polls, in the election. Polls to me are nothing. I don't believe in polls. Never have, never will. Because you see the polls that had him winning in Florida, blah blah blah, Biden, and polls are nothing. Polls are just a small fraction of people. So if they take a poll of 1,000 people, and they say, oh, 1,000 people have decided this is going to happen. You could do that if you have 2,000 people with the same thing, but because that's half. But as you can see, you have 73 million people voted for Biden, right? Excuse me. It's early. So you have 73 million people that voted for Biden. So here you come. You have in Florida, you have what, 6, 7, 8 million people that a little bit less, that voted in Florida. So you cannot take, let's say Donald Trump got 3 million. I don't know how much he got. Let's say right now in Georgia he's gotten 3 million votes, right? Or 3 million votes in Georgia. And you take Georgia and you take 1,000 Republicans and you ask them a question, you can't make a poll out of that, because you got 3 million people, and only 1,000 people, this is what they think. So you can't say, or 70% of the Democrats, you can't, or 70% of the Republicans, this is what they think. No, you can't say that. 70% of those people who did the poll, those are their thoughts, those are their decisions. But you can't say that all the other 2.9 million people are doing the same thing or going to think the same. You can't do that. So that's why I don't believe in polls, especially of that magnitude. When you have too many people and you only take you take a small percentage of those people, and you try to make a number of it. So I know if you have 5,000 people and you ask 500 people the same question, they gave you the same similar answers. You know, if you like Colgate or you like or you like Crest, and out of those 500 people, 300 said that they like Colgate, and the other one said that they like Crest. Then you can see, you can more or less say, okay, I give you liquor, so there's only 4,000 people, and you did a poll of 500 people, so that's okay. Or even 1,000 people, that's even more people out of 4,000. So you can you can do a poll, you can believe in those numbers, but when you have 69 million people that voted for Donald Trump this year, more than 2016, right? When you have all those people and you only ask 100,000 people what they think, and they say, oh, 70% of the Democrats, 75% of Republicans think this. No, because you got 69 million people, you only ask 100,000. So those numbers for me don't correlate. So I don't believe in polls. So going back, so he's saying that this is rigged. Republicans, you got hard-headed people that are already backing up Donald Trump. They're in sites with arms. Somebody yesterday tried to go into a poll site armed. We don't know if it was a Republican or Democrat. We don't know that, but wanted to get in there. So this is the things that this man decides to spew, and this is what it springs up. Okay, people can't. This is not people. This is not. This is not a game where you're rooting for a team and you're like, these are elections. You're going to a place where people are working, where they're doing their job. Some of them, most of them, voluntarily, and you're gonna decide that you want to rush in there with arms because you don't like what's going on. Now think about it. Just think about this. This is now, mind you, the Democrats and the Republicans and the Independents have a member in each of these poll stations, and they get to watch and they get to decide, that I don't think that's good. You raise their hand, and someone got to come and say, okay, blah blah blah. So they got to provide why they don't want that vote, or why they don't agree on that vote, or they see something suspicious, they have to report it. So you got these three people in these voting rooms or auditorium, whatever you want to call it, and they're watching the ballots go in. Now here you go. You have this machine right here. Let's just say this machine is right here, right? The machine is here, and the person who's doing the envelopes or whatever the case may be, who's putting in the paper, who's putting in the ballots into the machine, they put it in. The machine reads it, right? So how is this poll person rigging the election when he or she is putting in this machine? You're watching this person do this. Okay, that's number one. Number two, where you got all these places, all of them have cameras. So even if you try to do something, you're gonna get caught. You think maybe someone's stupid, but you think you're gonna go to jail with a felony just to rig an election? Maybe 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 votes, because eventually you're gonna get caught if you keep doing it. What you gonna do? You're gonna erase things right there in front of the camera, erase it, then take your own pencil or pen and mark it? Does that make any sense to you? Here's the machine. Here's the cameras here. Here's the cameras there. Here's the cameras there. In Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania City Commissioner is a Republican, and he said there is no foul play. He's a Republican. He said there is no foul play. So here people don't seem not to understand one thing. Okay, this is the state, right? And this state is all this right here. You got different counties, right? So let's say Georgia, or let's say Pennsylvania. If you see the map of Pennsylvania, you see that all this was Donald Trump. But these are small little counties, right? So you cannot compare one small little county to, let's say, Philadelphia. because Philadelphia has a lot of people, right? So within those little counties, Donald Trump did get a lot of votes. He won those votes, but also there were a lot of people in those counties who voted by mail and they voted for Biden. Okay, so when you got a big county like Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, all right, that have a strong Democrat voting, it's kind of hard because you have all these people. These are populated places, so their votes are going to be more than these little votes over here. Because here in this county you have a population of 5,000. In this county you have a population of 10,000. You got 15,000 people there. Let's say 9,000 or 10,000 voted for Donald Trump, but the rest voted in those mail-in votes went for Biden. So you got these small little towns. You got these small little counties that Donald Trump won, but mail-in votes were more basically for Biden. And then you come down to Pennsylvania. Then you come to Pittsburgh, where there are more people by density. Okay, so there are more people, so you're gonna get more votes eventually. You can't compare New York City that has 9 million people to New York State that has 17 million. The whole state has 17 million. So New York City, which consists of Bronx, Brooklyn, Manhattan, Staten Island, and Queens, you got 9 million people probably approximately living in those 5 little boroughs. But then when you expand, then New York State has 11 million. Well, those 11 million, you got different county, Ulster County, Chattanooga County, and those those are small density places, but those votes are a lot compared to just one big city that has 1 million. For every bar there's 1 million people here, 1 million people there, or 2 million people here, 2 million people there. And all these little spurts of counties have a small density. So that in itself, that's how Joe Biden has been winning. Now, here it comes. Each state does their voting differently. They have different laws. They have different rules. So, the state of Ohio, what did Ohio do? Ohio did their votes, their absentees, their mail-in ballots first. They did that first. I don't know if they had early voting, but they did that first. And then once they did that first, and then they did the in-person voting. So if you go back to the polls and you see Ohio, Biden was winning Ohio by a lot. Right? Why? Because they were doing the mail-in votes, the absentee votes first. And then when Ohio decided to do the in-person votes, people that went in actually, physically went in and voted, that was overwhelmingly more than the mail-in votes, and Donald Trump won that. So he didn't complain about Ohio because he won that, right? So Pennsylvania and Georgia did it backwards. They did the in-person votes first, and then they did the mail-in votes last. They figured, let's get the in-persons out first, and then we'll do the mail-in votes last. So that's why, at the end of the day, you see the surge coming out because the mail-in votes, it's out. The mail-in votes are more than what the in-person votes is. And once again, you go to these small little counties, and these small little counties where Donald Trump has won, but there is a significant number of mail-in votes coming in, and the majority of those mail-in votes are Democrats, and they are for Biden. Okay, that's also one of the reasons. That even though Trump won in those counties, but mail-in votes from those counties are mostly Democrats. So Donald Trump got 9,000 votes here in one county. Biden probably got 1 or 2, maybe 3,000 votes mail-in from that county. So though Donald Trump won 9,000 votes here, Biden got 3,000 here. So that's good in the Biden side, because 3,000 here, 4,000 there, 5,000 here, that accumulates. And then when you go into a a town in Georgia like Atlanta, and you go to Fulton County, and you got Atlanta. You go, those places are more, they have more people in it. And if you see Atlanta has changed a lot, and the black community has taken care of the votes in Atlanta. Fulton County, the black community has taken care of those. In Philadelphia, the black community has done that. And in Detroit, the black community has done that. So the voices of the black community is being heard by people, okay? It's being heard. You can tell they, not in Kenosha, because Kenosha, I don't know how, but in Kenosha, Donald Trump won Kenosha, all right? But in Detroit, and then Donald Trump had the audacity to say that Philadelphia is corrupt. Detroit is even more corrupt. Because why? These are black community people. This is the town with black, the mass majority are black people. And that's why he said that. So you don't have to be a racist to say, I don't like black people. You can say in so many ways, in different ways with little wording. And if you don't catch up to it, if you don't catch up what that person is saying, you will never notice that that person just made a racist remark. Okay? So here you go. You have all this. So the black people came out a lot, and they spoke. Okay? Whether it was through police brutality, for whatever reason it was, we all should know what it is. They voted. Atlanta, Fulton County, Detroit, Philadelphia, all right, Pittsburgh. So these people are, these people who voted, it just, it was a lot. People should be proud that we had a big turnout, and that's the other thing. Donald Trump did a great from a political view. He did a great job in Philadelphia. In Pennsylvania, he did a great job. He took out his people because he got, I think, 1 million more votes than he did in 2016, right? So he did his job, but more people decided to vote. Biden got more popular vote. Biden has gotten the most vote of any president candidate in the history of our time. He got, I think, 73 million votes so far, surpassing Barack Obama. So that's a lot of votes. So that tells you that, think about it, there's 330 or 340 million people living in the United States. So to get 73 million votes, to get 69 million votes, you do the math. All right? That's like half the country. Right there. A little bit less, but you know what I'm getting at. So to say that these elections were rigged is kind of far-fetched. And I'm going to tell you, this, and this should be the nail in the coffin. Donald Trump and his followers, whether it's Fox News, whether other people on YouTube, or are saying that this election was rigged. This is fraud. Now tell me something. If this election was fraud, why did the Republican didn't lose any seat in the House of Senate? In the Senate. Why did they gain 4 seats in the House of Representatives that weren't supposed to be gained? Supposedly they weren't supposed to gain those seats. But why was that? Here are the people. The people have voted. The people have voted Republican. The Republicans never lost the seat. The Senate did not change. The Senate did not change at all. The House of Representatives gained, the Republicans gained 4 seats, if I'm not mistaken. 4 seats. So, you're going to tell me that they decided to let the Senate stay the same? They decided to let the House of Representatives gain 4 more seats? But they decided to, for some reason, let's fuck up the president on the same ballot. So if the ballot was, so if these ballots are spit out, you gotta look for why is it spit out? Bad ink or whatever the case may be. I don't know. I don't work those things. I never worked it, so I don't know for what reason it spits it out. So think about it. Think about it logically. You don't you don't. The House of Representatives gains the Republican Party gains four seats in the House. You thought the Democrats thought they was going to overtake the Senate and they were going to keep the House, but it was the opposite. They didn't overtake the Senate. The Republicans didn't lose one seat in the Senate. Well, not one seat. It stood the same. And the House of Representatives lost 4 seats, right? So you tell me, where do you see? So these people stay the same here. The Republicans gain here, but Donald Trump is losing here, and they're all in the same ballot. Because when you vote, if you never voted before, you got the president here, the vice president, President Trump, Pence, Joe Biden, Harris, and blah, blah, blah. Then you have your congressman, then you have your city council. But whatever being voted for that year, you have it all in one piece of paper. You know? So you're gonna mess up one piece of paper. So if you mess up, if you mess up one candidate, if you mess up Donald Trump, then you're gonna mess up the whole entire thing. Okay? Because they're all in one piece of paper. They're not individually given out. No, they're all in one piece of paper. So if you're gonna mess up Donald Trump, then you mess up the whole entire thing. That's the way it is. So for him to say that Detroit and Philadelphia is corrupt and there's no good, you're not saying just Detroit, you're saying the people that live there. And who are those people? Black people. That's what he is saying. Okay? Because if you know anything about it, every poll site has a Democrat, a Republican, and an independent. If there is an independent candidate running in the ballot, so that person, that party needs a representative to be there. Okay, whether they get 1,000 votes, what it doesn't matter. That party got to be representative, and that party needs to be witness to what's going on, so to make sure that there is no, say, like fraud. So they do have that every poll site. So where is the conspiracy? Where is the fraud? Then you have people, all that dead people, blah blah this, and the absentee votes that my mother said that my mom went to sign in, and when she went to sign in, they already said that she already voted. I mean, those are things, see, those are things that you're like, what? You're like, okay, maybe happened, maybe it didn't happen, I don't know, but it's kind of highly unlikely. But if it did, it did. But it's not a big proportion of it. So to say that this election is being taken away, no, it's just a man who's a sore loser. And I'm not saying this because because I don't like Trump. I would have voted for Trump if he would have done things differently, because I don't affiliate myself with no party. But if he would have done things differently, if he would have done the pandemic right, there would have been more manufacturers' jobs here in the United States. But there were a lot of manufacturers' jobs that were lost. Little things that he did. Now I agree with some of the things that he has done or that he wanted to do. I agree with that. I'm not gonna say them here, but I agree with them. But for the mass majority, I don't. And the mishandling of COVID and the mishandling of spewing out socialism when there is no, when he himself doesn't even know what socialism is. And by him saying that your Second Amendment rights is going to be taken away, when your Second Amendment right cannot be taken away because that's our constitutional right. Joe Biden, if he's elected president, he cannot say the Second Amendment right is gone. The Second Amendment is gone. He cannot do that. That has a process, and that's not going to be taken away because that is our given right as American citizens. That's why our forefathers fought vigilantly when they signed the Declaration of Independence. When they signed the Declaration, when they signed the amendments, when they did all that, when they did all these things that they signed, it was to protect our interests. It was to protect our rights as American citizens. You cannot do this, you cannot do that. The government cannot infringe this, the government cannot infringe that. So to keep you separated, there are certain things the government can do and certain things the government cannot do. So it doesn't infringe your rights. Other countries didn't have that. Now some countries are in the 20th century, now they're more democratic. And some of them are still not. Some of them are still dictatorship like that, like Russia and China. They're still under the dictatorship. You know, a bad dictatorship, because I believe if you lead dictatorship the right way, it could be something okay. Because certain people needs to be told what the hell to do, because you know they they're just you know and let's say, for an example, like Cuba. Like you understand, Cuba back in 1980 when the AIDS crisis came out. I thought it was bad what Castro was doing. He was taking everybody that had AIDS, build them a community, and kept them in that community. So that community had schools, that community had theaters, that community had bowling alleys. But you cannot leave that community because he didn't want the AIDS to spread out. And I thought that was cruel. But as years passed by, and I looked at the statistic of a few years ago, Cuba only had 1% of the population of AIDS. Of AIDS in the world. 1%. Though it's smaller than most countries, but in Cuba, a few years ago, Cuba only had 1% of AIDS. The population, that population is what, 10 million? And 1% of 10 million, what, I think it's 10,000? 100,000? That's not bad compared to, we got over 1 million American people right now living with HIV here in the United States. No, there's more than that. It's like 25 million people living in HIV here in the United States. And there's 1 million people here in the United States that has HIV and does not know they're HIV positive. And to have the 1% of your population have HIV in a country like Cuba or in any country, that's good because of what he implemented. So if dictatorship means that you get to have, let's say, but it's more of a balance, well, it's not that bad. I'm not saying that your rights have to be revoked. You have the right to say what you want, but sometimes you have to be told. You know, like China's dictatorship, that's horrible. Let me take that back. Any dictatorship is bad, you know. I was just messing with you guys. Like, I like to rouse. Oh, King Gio likes dictatorship. No, I don't. Any dictatorship is bad. But what Castro did for that in that given moment, looking at it now, it was the best thing to do. And I can give you 1,000 reasons why, but I'm not going to do that now. So, to put in perspective, that's why the votes are going in for Biden, and they have already stopped for Donald Trump, because each state does everything differently. So before you start looking at, oh, the Donald Trump, what I said is go to listening to Fox, and what I say go to listening to Ted Cruz. He's collegiate, but he's dumb at the same time. Instead of listening to these people, do your own research how voting goes. Because I don't want you guys to think that the next election is going to be the same thing, or I don't want you to think that, because this can taint the mindset of people. Say, you know, this is just a corrupt system. There's no point in me voting, and that's not what voting is all about. Yes, there has been there has been before there has been fraud. Yes, there has. But we come an age that's just minuscule now. It's kind of hard. Can it be done? Yes, but not to a giant scale like he's saying it is. No, it's impossible. Not with the technology that we have, not with the cameras that we have. No, it's just it's impossible. But here you have a man who's reaching out and saying to the people, well, I've been defrauded of the votes that I got, because I won Pennsylvania and I won Georgia. Now they're saying I didn't. But like I said, Pennsylvania and Georgia started it. Mail-in votes last. That's why he's doing it. And as you can see, Ohio and other states did them first. So if you see those states that did them first and you see that he won, he won. He's not contesting those states that he won. He's not contesting Arizona. He's not contesting Nevada. But he's contesting the states that he was winning, and now he's lost. You can't have your cake and eat it at the same time. People got tired of your bullshit, Donald Trump.